Power Rangers Cosmic Fury showrunner Simon Bennett says he's not a fan of either Power Rangers or Super Sentai. Welcome, my friends, to the GNRO Minicast. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're watching this. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please go down and hit that like and subscribe button. It really does actually help this channel, as well as the minicasts if you like them. But yeah, I found this article today on Bounding into Comics, and I wanted to be able to speak about it because I'm not saying that it's going to be completely controversial, but I am a fan of Power Rangers. Power Rangers has been a big inspiration for me growing up, because it started literally when I was about 10 years old. So at that point, I wanted to be able to talk about this particular article and some of the things brought into it. And of course, it's being brought to you by Bounding into Comics. Make sure to go to boundingintocomics.com to be able to check out the story, as well as any others in the geek world. And the article itself is being written by Spencer Cooley, so we're going to go ahead and go into it. In continuing to dig his own tokusatsu-styled grave, new former franchise executive producer Simon Bennett has admitted, despite his years of work on the series, he never became a fan of either Power Rangers or its source series, Super Sentai. Okay, well, I'm not gonna say that it damns him that he hasn't, but let's just see, how long has he been working on it? So it looks like he started as a producer around the time Ninja Steel started up, so that would have been a Netflix season, and he became a executive producer, it looks like, around Dino Fury. But I might be wrong about this. I'm relying on wikis to be able to give me that information. But let's just go with it. So he was the he started as a producer and a director for Ninja Steel, as well as for Beast Morphers. But then when Dino Fury came around, he was an executive producer. Okay, so moving on into it. Bennett would offer this latest insight into his feelings towards the two series amidst a conversation regarding his recent comment that in order for the Power Rangers franchise to reach a larger mainstream audience, the franchise has to move away from its tokusatsu roots. Simon, I hate to tell you this, but the tokusatsu is what brought Power Rangers to the dance in the first place. Granted, Power Rangers and Super Sentai are way different in comparisons, as I've started to notice watching Super Sentai myself. And I would say that the defining characteristic that makes it different is Power Rangers has the weird Saved by the Bell stories that can happen in between it, but it still heavily relies upon the tokusatsu footage in particular. And also the fact that the studio that makes Super Sentai is the one that's filming your fight scenes, I believe. So, yeah, you don't need to move away from it. In fact, what would be, you'd gut the franchise pretty much. This latest raising of the topic was done on September 24th, courtesy of an interview with longtime Pink Ranger actor Catherine Sutherland, who bore the mantle in Mighty Morphin Zeo. She was also the third season Pink Ranger. She replaced Kimberly and Power Rangers Turbo until she was replaced as well. And it was conducted by YouTuber and actor Nicholas Iachanchi? If I'm saying that wrong, dude, I'm sorry, man. Super Sentai is limiting for Power Rangers. What? Okay. At one point during their conversation, I'm not even going to try and say your name again, man, sorry, pointed to Bennett's comment and asked his guest Once and Always and Cosmic Fury are two projects with creative freedom. Do you think Power Rangers has to distance itself from Super Sentai for a while to forget its own path? Yeah, so Sutherland responds, yeah, I'm actually really happy they did that with Cosmic Fury and created their own costumes, because it's limiting when you're taking footage from another series. You're just taking the footage. You're not entirely adapting it. In some cases, I think even in the newer series, they create their own story. So they're already doing that. I don't see where you guys are having that logic. It's limiting you to only having that footage you can use and kind of trying to tailor a story around it. And yet you've done very well doing it, which is what they've been doing all these years. So I'm really happy they chose to do that, and I hope it does well. I'm really excited to see it. There's some backwards logic in here, I'm not gonna lie, because in all honesty, the series doesn't need to forget its roots, and it's already somewhat distanced itself because they already create their own plot lines, which in turn, the Japanese creators give you the fight scenes that you need. It's a working relationship. Why would you wreck that? Unsurprisingly, this excerpt comes from the full interview with Sutherland and was met with a wide range of responses, most of which were either supportive of Power Rangers striking out on its own or shaking their heads at what they perceived as yet another case of Hollywood's usual hubris. And that I can see, because the fact that Simon Bennett came out and said he's not a fan of the franchise, it's going to remind people of not necessarily Kevin Smith, because Kevin Smith for a while there was like, oh yeah, I'm totally a He-Man fan. Yeah, sure you are. And it was very clear through Masters of the Universe Revelation that he was not, and he just wanted to do whatever agenda he wanted to fit into that thing, including apparently giving He-Man a Sailor Moon transformation. That was great. So at that point, it doesn't need to forget its tokusatsu. I can get why people would be mad about this. This is basically Hollywood being Hollywood. Now, if they're going to create their own fight scenes and they want to separate from it, that's fine, but that's budget. I hope you can afford it. Among those seeking to offer their opinion was Twitter user Sick Jacket Man, who rather than take a definitive side, instead opinioned, I can respect wanting to do something original. However, if you want to insult what made Power Rangers, you shouldn't be running Power Rangers. And you know what? There's some logic there too. I'm not gonna roast Simon Bennett for not being a fan, because to some people, a job is a job. And so at that point, it might not be what he wants to work on, but in order for Simon to work on the things he wants to work on, he has to earn the clout. He has to earn the resume distinctions. So at that point, he doesn't have to be a fan, but he does have to respect what it is. And if that means that it's based in tokusatsu, then you need to respect that tokusatsu inference into the series. So at that point, like, you can not be a fan, that's fine, but you have to respect your material. Eventually, Sick Jacket Man's tweet caught the attention of Bennett himself. Oh, and now we have another spat. Noting that the tweet was a dig at his previous comment, Bennett asserted, "I don't think I was being insulting. I hold Super Sentai in the highest regard." If you hold it in the highest regard, you would not say that you want it to forget its tokusatsu roots. Because then at that point, yeah, there's arguments here that can be made. This assertion would then draw a question from Deadcolo84, who point blank asked Bennett, "Be honest, do you like Super Sentai?" "If it wasn't for Power Rangers, I would never have crossed paths with Super Sentai," replied the Cosmic Fury showrunner. "I'm not a fan of either show, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the encounter and working on Power Rangers." Well, first of all, I'm going to applaud him his honesty. He's not a fan of it, but again, the highest regard is the problem that I have with it, because when you say highest regard, it means you're respecting it. But also saying that you have to forget its tokusatsu roots is telling me you're disrespecting it. You're contradicting yourself here, Simon Bennett. It's actually really starting to piss me off. Admittedly, it's not unheard of for Hollywood employees to only treat their roles as mere jobs. It's what you kind of have to do at that point, because you're trying to work as hard as somebody who has like a regular paying job, so you have to move from job to job to job. It's a convenience when you get to work on something you really wanted to work on. After all, at the end of the day, everything with a director or an actor does can still be considered work. Exactly. It has to be considered work, because even if it's a passion project, yeah, you can enjoy your time while working on it, but then you're probably also going to have other projects going on during that, and they may not be as enjoyable, and you have to find a way to be able to balance all of that out. The issue instead lies with the fact that Bennett, and many who share his mentality are being put in charge of properties and franchises that have a long history of passion and dedication in their DNA. And yes, this is a bit of an issue. Not necessarily in Simon Bennett's case, but again, Kevin Smith, running Masters of the Universe Revelation. I would argue that Dave Filoni has run out of ideas and is just basically recycling old shit that worked for him in the past in his current Star Wars writings. So yeah, there's some truth there, and there is concern. Thanks to Hollywood's long and sordid history of mishandling various geek properties, fans are unwary, to say the least, of Western attempt to adapt anything. Yeah, we're very worried about that, especially when we look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's totally betraying the characters that are being portrayed there. Or it's only in favor of a universe of comics that fits into a political narrative. And like Ian McKellen said so long ago, and I actually recommend you guys go look into this interview. It was for Lord of the Rings, where he basically said, as an actor, it's not our job to have a political narrative. It's not our job to push things in a particular direction. Our job is to play the role. Our job is to do the job. And we have to do that in the way that it's intended. Now, can a story be political? Sure. But instead of pushing a political narrative, you talk the politics of that particular topic or historical biopic. You don't necessarily try to ham-fist in that, oh, we should be doing this for whatever demographic that's being oppressed today. Combine this skepticism with a showrunner openly admitting that both their affinity for the property under their care ends when the workday does, and that it needs to change its core identity in order to find future success, which I would disagree with because that's what brought it to the dance in the first place. And it quickly becomes clear why so many would feel frustrated at having someone openly admit that they consider them someone's favorite piece of entertainment to be nothing more than a simple paycheck. And that's kind of what it is to a lot of actors and directors. They have to work on something that they don't necessarily want to work on. So I'm not necessarily going to fault him for that, but completely taking out a piece. I love this because identity has become such a big thing these days. So much so that when somebody says anything about pronouns in Starfield, the entire internet just loses its collective shit. Identity is such a big thing, and what you want to do is rip out the identity of Power Rangers? If that's the case, then yes, this is the final season, because I don't think it's going to do very well. And that's coming from somebody I haven't necessarily seen Once a Ranger. We'll probably get to it at some point, but from all the people that I've talked to about it, it was kind of meh. So at that point, this is not encouraging, is what I'm saying. Now, I will say the imagery that's put in from the first trailer, it does look good. The costumes look good. And supposedly this is a continuation of Dino Fury, so they already have the cast put in place. I just don't see why you have to take the tokusatsu out of it, because that's what brought it to the dance in the first place. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury morphs exclusively onto Netflix this Friday, which would be actually, when I'm recording this, today. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My schedule's been a little busy this week, basically because I've been recovering from a knee injury a couple of weeks ago and trying to make sure that I can still work. So first of all, I'm going to give some major props to Spencer McCulley. I do like how this article was written. It was very non-biased. I'm not saying Bounding Into Comics doesn't do biased stuff. They have done opinion articles, and I did one for Castlevania as well. But I'm going to give this guy major props because he explained both sides of the argument, which is something that mainstream journalism just can't do. So, round of applause for Spencer McCulley, man. I have no problem highlighting the F out of you, and I'll probably even put a credit to your Twitter in the video description below so you guys all can see it. My thoughts are, again, Simon Bennett, you don't have to like it. But to say that in order for the franchise to reach a mainstream audience, it has to move away from what made it what it is in the first place, I wholeheartedly disagree. I don't have a problem with you creating your own story, creating your own villain, which is stuff that has been done with Power Rangers in the past. Lord Zed is a US creation, and from what I understand, he also shows up in Once a Ranger, so you can totally do that. I don't have an issue with it, but you still have to have that core part of the identity. You have a bunch of people dressed up in multicolored costumes kicking butt and summoning Megazords. Are you kidding me? You can't get rid of that. It's not Power Rangers at that point. At that point, it's a sitcom with the costumes, and it would be absolutely stupid, or a teen drama with the costumes, and that would be totally stupid. You might as well just do a teen drama, which it sounds to me like what Simon Bennett actually wants to do, and that's fine, but you still need to respect the property that you have. As for Catherine Sutherland's comments, that speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned. I know that, you know, she just barely did Once a Ranger, and I am trying to be respectful, but I'm going to respectfully disagree with Catherine Sutherland's point of view, just in the concept of forgetting the identity of what makes Power Rangers Power Rangers. So at that point, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a dispute with either you're siding with me or you're siding the other side, make sure to leave a comment down below. Let's have that discussion. Let's actually openly figure out whether or not you can do that and whether or not it can still be Power Rangers. I'd love to be able to have that discussion, much like we did with Castlevania. I actually wanted to applaud people for the amazing amount of civility that came out of the Castlevania article, and I actually had some good conversations with you guys. So yeah, make sure to leave a comment below, and like I said, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do so. It really helps me out, and then you can also check out some of the other podcasts that are going up. I promise that we will have some more Yu-Gi-Oh! And some more Rising the Shield Hero very soon, including some of the movie reviews that we have from when me and Andrea took a vacation, or you can join us live when we are able to be live, and we would love to be able to have that discussion there. So thank you guys so much. Thank you so much to Spencer McCooley and Bounding Into Comics for this article and for the discussion to be able to be had, and I will see you guys next time.